All right, everybody. I'm just going to be going through how I do my workflow in Full Sail. It's a little bit complicated, and if you've taken classes at Full Sail before, you probably know that, or had the horror story of um, you're entering in all your content and you're responding to the coursework inside of the platform. It's had so many different names. I don't know what it's called anymore. It's LMS or FSO. I'm not entirely sure, but this is the Media and Communications Certificate course that I'm wrapping up. It's an 8-month course, but I thought I'd share with you guys the way that I do my workflow because I've tried all different types of methods. You know, some of the instructors, for example, tell you to write all your content in a Word document and then have that Word document autosave on your machine as you're doing it. I've tried Google Docs because of course that automatically syncs as well when you're in your browser. That's also great, but I'm an Evernote freak. I use Evernote pretty much for everything. So and then what I also do is I only use Microsoft Edge for school. So that way nothing gets crossed over, and I'm always signed into my school account on Microsoft Edge as well. And yeah, so that's kind of my setup. Um, so and in order for me to and the way that I prevent um, data loss or coursework loss or anything like that, instead of coming down to, let's just say this week I'm working on, for example, the portfolio presentation for week 8. When you click this and you open it up, um, you scroll down and of course you leave your response in the completion box and you're typing whatever, and all of a sudden the internet goes out or you close your browser. Sometimes it saves, uh, a lot of times it doesn't, and I've lost too much work in the past. So what I do is really a three-step system here. So again, we're set up, we're logged in to Edge. If you use Chrome, whatever, Firefox, Safari, that's awesome. I'm on a Mac, so just to keep that in mind as well in case things look a little bit different. But so the first thing I do is I have the Evernote web clipper installed as an add-on extension into Microsoft Edge. Just a quick side note about this extension. Uh, Microsoft Edge uses Chromium, so it's the exact same thing as the Chrome Web Store. So when you add add-ons, it's going to look as though you're adding a Google Chrome add-on to Microsoft Edge. For example, if you were to go to the extension store, but it is Edge. Just they use the same Chromium software fundamentals and which is good. It's a lot better than it used to be. So the first thing you want to do is you obviously want to sign up for a free account. I'll put the link down below for signing up for Evernote. It's awesome. I've been using it since 2010, so I'm going on 10 years now as an Evernote premium user. I pay the premium. Uh, Students do get a discount as well, so you can actually give them your student email address and they'll hook you up. You do have to pay for the year though. You can't pay per month if you're going to do that. You have to pay for the whole year at one time, so keep that in mind. So once you get that installed and you get signed in and all that good stuff, the first thing I do is I go through and I clip the whole page. Um, let's go ahead and do that now. So there's different ways that you can clip the page. You can clip it as a bookmark, which essentially just saves the URL. You can save it as a full page. I don't really like that simply because it gathers up all the information in the left-hand column and it makes it a little bit wonky when it imports into Evernote, so I don't do that one either. I don't choose simplified article either. because there is some things that I want to make sure that I retain in the assignment, and you'll see that in just a little bit. For other articles and other web clippings, I do use simplified article, but not for full sales work. I actually use the article feature, and you get this kind of plus or minus feature here, this little switch. Sometimes the green line doesn't actually supersede the title of the coursework or the week's work. So you just want to make sure that if that is the case, for example, see, I clicked the negative icon or the minus icon here, click the plus symbol, make sure that it goes all the way around and above this, and you'll find out later why. And once that's in place, go ahead and actually just scroll down and make sure that the inclusion box in Evernote is all the way down to the bottom of feedback. It doesn't need to go all the way down to what's coming up next. Just get it down to the bottom of feedback, and then you'll be good to go. So we'll just scroll back up here. The next thing I do is I actually change the title of the note, because this is going to be the title of the note inside of Evernote. So I just get rid of any of the extra metadata that's at the end, which is about right there. So week 8, colon or semicolon, portfolio presentation, and that's going to be the title of the Evernote that I'm going to work with, in other words, to complete the work and work through some of the questions. So I do that. And the notebook that I'm using is the MCC-0, so that's the Media and Communication Certificate Online, is the code that they use. And I tag it with a couple of different things. So I tag it with whatever week I'm working in. Let's see, I also tag it with the name of the code of the actual course, which is MCM 3003-0. You can get that information by looking underneath your coursework on the left-hand side. That way I can just easily find it, because again, all 4 of the classes, or any of the classes, whether you're in digital marketing or web development or design or gaming engineering or sound production or whatever class you're taking from them, whatever academic program you're in, you can easily just search for that one particular tag in Evernote and just find all the data and all the notes for that one thing. So again, you've got one notebook, and then you have the tags underneath. That's how I tag it. And there is one more that I use. Yes. So this one is the 4th class, which is CDE. That stands for Career Development. I forgot what the last letter stood for, but it's the acronym for the class, so CDE. So I just hit it with those. I don't make any remarks yet or anything like that. I just leave it as is, and I click Save Clip. And you can see that it's saving the clip, and I use the Evernote desktop application. That's really how I do things. You could open this up in the web browser, which is totally fine, but I like using the desktop application, so I just go ahead and close this, and I go down to Evernote, and they've updated a lot of things recently, so I'm going to just click in here, Recent Notes, which is the one that it just imported. Again, here is your title that we titled the note, and what I do is I actually click on this, and Evernote has this really cool feature. Essentially, they call it simplify and make editable. And I do that. And the reason why I do that is because I want to, sometimes as I'm reading the material, I like to make maybe notes on the side or either above it or below a specific bullet point where I can, instead of going back and forth, I'm literally just brainstorming and I'm keeping my flow within one channel. It's way easier to do it this way. So I click on simplify and make editable, and there's a couple of formatting issues that you can clean up here. So I get rid of a couple of extra returns or something like that. And we just do some things like this, maybe get rid of that. And again, you can go back and get rid of these extra returns if you want to. I do, just to get it a little bit more condensed. And you get this kind of weird formatting here, which I obviously get rid of. I'll go ahead and get rid of that. Okay, let's do that. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so see, this is automatically saving, which is a great thing. So what I do is, let's go to the next step here. Next thing that I do is, for example, if I'm going through, for example, task 1 or task 2, depending on how complex it is or the type of questions that need to be answered in order for you to get full points for any of the assignments, I may actually come over here and hit return a couple of times, and I will insert a divider, and then I will entitle this course or classwork, and just format this a little bit different with the large header. And sometimes I end up putting this arrow here, which kind of helps me know that that's what I was working on. And I will start doing task 1 here. And I will type whatever. And when I'm done, then I will hit up one more divider. And that way, this is the work that I'm actually working on to complete task 1. Sometimes, depending on if it's a little bit, less in depth, or you already have what you're really going to write about kind of in your head, sometimes what I actually do is I just come here and I just start right at the top with task 1. In other words, I'll just put all of this material right at the top, and then I will insert a divider, and then all of this stuff stays below. In other words, the stuff you copied from the actual website itself. Before I forget, let me just bounce over here one other time, and I want to let you know that sometimes the Evernote web clipper does not do a fantastic job in recognizing that you want to clip something. So just hit a hard refresh on your web page. So for Mac, it's going to be Command R, I believe. For Windows, I think it's, what is it? One of the function keys. So I think it's like F5 or F6. So it's like Control Shift F5 clears all the cache and refreshes the web browser. Because sometimes when you actually click on the Evernote icon, it doesn't actually grab all of the data. So just keep that in mind. You may have to refresh the page. So then at that point, what I do is I gather all of my content at once. Task 1 and task 2. I go back to Evernote and get it all organized into the separate tasks. It's got all the links. It's got everything I want to say. It's beautifully written, whatever it is. And I gather up all that information. And then what I do is I pop it in the completion box and click save. When the teacher comes back and leaves you feedback, so here's the thing about your course material as well at Full Sail. Once you complete the course, whether it's a PhD or a doctorate or a bachelor's or just one of the certificate programs, uh, after a certain amount of time, your coursework is gone. You're never going to get it back. That's one of the reasons why I highly recommend to get in the habit of archiving all of your work, because you can use this material later for all types of stuff. You can use it to flesh out a blog post. You can use it, when there's something you touch on and, you just really feel good about what you wrote and you loved the train of thought that you had. Once the course is over and there's, again, a certain amount of time that goes by, it's done. You're never going to be able to log back in here and copy your material, either your completion or the feedback from the instructor. And when you're trying to build testimonials or you're trying to build a good reputation with colleagues, friends, and instructors, professors, people that you work with, you really want to have just a baseline of the cool things that people said about you so that you could post it somewhere with their permission. Like, hey, I'm going to use the feedback that you gave me, in week 3 of the MCC course, and do you mind if I, post that in quotation marks or whatever on my new website, as far as, my professionalism or how I understood a particular topic or whatever, and then the teacher's like, awesome, yeah, and then you can do that. So you've always got that feedback. But the trick is you actually have to go back and double clip your Evernote. So here's the way it works. I'm not actually going to demonstrate it here, but it works the exact same way with one caveat. You put your completion response in, as I mentioned before, you click save. The Monday or the Tuesday or the Wednesday, whenever your instructor gets back to you and leaves you the feedback and leaves your grade, they are obviously going to leave it here in the feedback. What you want to do after that is you want to come through and clip it one more time and make sure that you expand the input box. For example, I'll give you one example over here. Let's go back to content. Let's go back to this one is done. So let's look all the way down here to the bottom. And you see here where it says show more? You want to make sure that that's expanded, because if it's not expanded, Evernote is not going to be able to clip this. So again, what you want to do is you want to make sure that the response boxes or the input boxes are fully expanded, either the teacher's feedback and or your completion box. And that is right here. So I'm not going to click show less, but that's what happens. Let's go back now to where we were before, which is week 8. And once your teacher leaves their feedback, you want to come through and clip it one more time in the way that I just explained it, by expanding those boxes. When that second Evernote hits your Evernote account, you're essentially going to have 2 week 8 pieces of information. One you used to hash out all your thoughts, to make notes, to read and reread information. You can also have it on the go. It's a lot easier to read that on the Evernote app than it is to actually go to the website in your mobile browser. There's all types of benefits as to why it's just way better to do it in Evernote. Again, you can leave your comments and whatnot and let me know what you think, but I've been at this for quite a long time. You want to combine your 2 notes at that point. So the way that you do that is, I'm just going to pretend again that the completion box and the feedback boxes has already been filled out, and I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to click Evernote. Okay, you see how it's actually kind of all grayed out right now? That's exactly what I was referring to earlier, how you need to refresh. So I'm just going to hit Command R. Okay, that's going to refresh everything. I'm going to click on Evernote again. It's at the top, again, over the title. Awesome. Let's scroll down. Okay, perfect. It's right where it needs to be. Again, assuming that there's content in here. And now what you want to do is leave the title the same. In other words, don't change the title. And the reason why is because when you combine week 8 and week 8, in other words, the two notes in Evernote, you want to be able to differentiate between the first note that you took and the second note that you took. And I find that it's just easier to leave the metadata, in other words, in the automatic title description, just leave it the same. That way there's a little bit of difference in the title, and you know which one to click on when you're looking for that information. So I'm not going to put any tags in this one or anything like that. Just assume that I put the tags in that I did before, and go ahead and click Save Note. Okay, awesome. So this one is called Week 8 Portfolio, and then there's a little bit of kind of title overlap here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go back down to Evernote again. You can, again, open it up in the web app or the desktop. Now I'm going to go over to Notes. I'll just change that around. Okay, so here we have our two most recent notes. We have one that's entitled Week 8 Portfolio Presentation, and then you've got this kind of extra metadata right here. And then you've got your other one, which is here. So assuming that all of this has been fleshed out and that these are all your notes, and this one includes the teacher's feedback and a copy of your perfectly presented material in the completion box, you want to merge them. So you just either press Control on a Windows machine or Command on a Mac. You highlight them both like this in Evernote, and there's this little merge icon that's down here. Now I'm not actually going to kind of clean up this web clip here. You can do it afterwards, the way that we did the first one. So just click on Merge, and what I do is I get rid of the extra metadata, and I just type in merged in parentheses. That way each one of them has a separate title. If I ever need to go back to it for any reason, I'm really big into naming conventions. It keeps everything really nice, neat, and organized. So type in merged, and there's a couple of advanced options that are here. I don't keep copies of the original notes. In other words, once I merge them, I delete the single copies, and that's how I do it. So this one is not checked. Again, I do not keep copies of the originals, but that's under advanced. And then I also like to have separate merged content with divider lines. That way each piece of content is separated, and include the note titles in the merged content. So I do keep those checked. Again, going back to what I was saying earlier, that way you'll be able to tell a difference between what you did originally, your first clip, and then your second clip, because they've got two different titles. So click on Merge Notes, and here we have the merged note all completed and together. So this is your last one that you did by not editing any of that information. This is the actual major title of the completed note. It also carries over any of the tags. So you really just have to tag it once in the original note, and it'll carry those tags over to the merged, which is kind of awesome. And with the second one that you clip, where you're really just archiving and documenting, their feedback and a copy of your completed work, you don't really have to clean it up. You could just leave it as a web clip, and it's totally fine. So no issues there. But if you scroll down, then here you can see this is Week 8 Portfolio Presentation. Again, it's separated by the divider line. It automatically does that. And then you have no fear of losing your work whatsoever. It's a great way to, make sure that you're not losing your information. You're always archiving it. You've got something to go back to. So many benefits. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, just look down in the description below, and I'll put a couple links to Evernote and any of the other tools I used here. So awesome. Thank you so much.